Hey,
I can hear you.
what is going on? Everyone is Mike. How's everyone doing? We are live. It is Wednesday, November 4th, and we're here to talk about not politics. Anything but
Yeah,
politics.
no politics.
No politics, right? So everyone, thanks very much for joining. I am Mike Caputo. Welcome to Network Pod. A little bit of echo there. Welcome to Network Podcast, where we attempt to separate the signal from the noise when it comes to your personal technology. I am Mike Caputo, and I am joined by my co-host, Holden DePardo.
Hello.
Holden, how we doing?
Doing all right. We have a lot to
Yeah?
talk about. It's exciting because we're finally getting to talk about Apple's next week Mac event, or what we're assuming is their Mac event.
What
It's
we
about
assuming is
time.
their Mac event. Yes, you
Yeah.
are absolutely
But
right.
very, very, very likely is their Mac event. Be very
Yeah.
surprised if it was anything else.
So we have a full agenda, like you're mentioning, and there's lots to talk about. I guess let's start with the obvious. Let's talk about not the election. So in terms of weekly news, I think there's a few things I want to go ahead and call out. And welcome Steve IT guy to the chat. Uh,
Hey,
First to
Steve.
comment, Steve, who's this on the birthday line? Where are you calling in from? Uh, so first, we're talking about Apple One. So Apple One was, I think it came out last Friday, if I'm not mistaken. That was the day that they
hmm
also released the 14.2 release candidate. Now they're calling it, but we'll get in that in a second here. So that is now out starting at $14.95 a month. We have three different subscription tiers. Excuse me, $14.99, $19.99, and $29.95. $29.99. Where's the mouse at? So really, they're bundling a whole bunch of features. You're getting music, TV, plus arcade, and 50 gigs of iCloud storage. In addition to, if you go up to the next tier, you're getting 200 gigs of storage. And then you got the Premier tier, which is available in a couple different countries, where you have 2 terabytes of storage, being the differentiator, Fitness Plus and News Plus. Now, Holden, I don't know about you, but for me, as soon as I saw this, I was like, "Oh, I'm jumping on this because I'm going to save money."
hmm
Holden, did you sign up for it? If you did,
All the way up to Premiere. All the way.
yeah,
Very top. Oh, yeah.
take my money.
Well, I already do Apple News. I already do Apple Music. I already do Arcade,
Oh
and I
yeah,
already do Apple TV Plus. So like it's kind of already in on those, so might as well. And then I got 2 terabytes of iCloud storage, which is just a lot of breathing room for iCloud backups and files I can just throw up there. So
yes.
it was just kind of a no-brainer for me.
So you actually saved money then. You saved like $10 a month. It sounds like.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saved it quite a bit. Yeah.
Wow. I think it's interesting that at least at this point, one, they released Apple One without having Fitness Plus available. They
hmm
say it's coming available later this year in 2020. Really, who knows when? But maybe we'll see it next week or we'll see it very soon. I think this is really going to be the glue, so to speak, that ties people into this because it hasn't been exactly clear if you can purchase this as a standalone service. At least I have not seen it. I don't know, sure if you have.
I think they said it was $10.99. I think
Oh, you're right.
for
You
Fitness
are
Plus.
right.
I think it is.
Yeah, yeah, it is $10.99.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look, I'm pretty sure it is. Um, yeah. So at first I was intrigued that the announcement of Apple One made it kind of confusing because they say at the announcement that it's coming it's coming in fall 2020, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to include Apple Fitness Plus. But then Fitness Plus is coming late 2020, and they're like, are you telling me that late 2020 isn't like it's going to come with the launch of Apple One, or is it going to be a staggered release? So I kind of feel like they could have just been clearer in saying it will Fitness Plus will come later on with it. But that seems like it's the case, and I feel like it's kind of a sign of things to come, and kind of part of the reason why I'm happy I got the Premiere version, which is that when Apple introduces new services, they'll probably just throw it into Apple One Premiere. Just like Amazon Prime used to just be shipping packages, but now it's music and it's video
Hmm.
and it's Twitch Prime, so you can like send money out to subscribe to different Twitch channels for free. Like it's become several things without changing the price. Well, it's changed the price, but it's still the same service. Um, so I kind of feel like that's kind of where they're going with it. So I guess the Fitness Plus coming in later on is just kind of a sign of that, possibly.
Hmm. That's a really good point that I actually didn't consider that. You might see more tension on the high end with these higher packages that they have, where they're going
Mhm.
to add in services, kind of forcing you, maybe not exactly in that term, but compelling you, probably a more accurate way of describing it, to upgrade to these bigger tier packages where it's easier for them to get economies of scale and give you more things because you're paying more money per month. It's a
Yeah.
really good idea. And I don't necessarily use News Plus. I think that the News Plus, I do use. I had a 2 terabyte iCloud plan. I'm just looking at the plans now.
Mhm.
I watch TV Plus all the time because I think the shows are great, and I'm super excited
They are.
that Ted Lasso got a third season now.
Yeah. Season one was
That's really
so fantastic. I loved that first season so much.
yeah. So wait, let's digress for 1 second. Do you think they're going to weave in kind of the current pandemic into the second season? I don't know. It
I
just seems kind of weird.
It'd be interesting because I think what made Ted Lasso kind of fun is that it was an escape from the pandemic, but I also
Yes.
think that it'd be fun to see because it's just so optimistic and positive, unlike the state of 2020 generally speaking. But I do
Yeah.
feel like I would love to see Ted Lasso in his positivity and optimism in the pandemic context. I would really like to see that. I also think
Yeah.
there's a lot of room for like jokes on, how do you do social distancing practice in sports, and like I think they could do a lot with that would be really positive and fun. It
Yeah.
just kind of depends how they handle it, but I kind of trust them. I think they could do that. It'd be really funny.
Okay. So I had the conversation with my wife saying whether or not they were going to weave it into some of the Apple TV shows, and now your position makes sense to me, right? Because he is very positive and he's very upbeat, and I think it would be a nice kind of refreshing way to see him take on that kind of that dilemma. So that's good.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the services. And we're talking about them adding value for subscribers at that $29.95 price point. I would love to see some type of Apple Care plan. Maybe not Apple Care from a hardware replacement, but maybe just
Yeah.
screen replacement or something like that. Who knows? And I don't know. Like I think there's probably ways like you're mentioning for them to grow the service and add more value into it. Express deliveries or something.
Yeah,
Who
absolutely. It's
knows?
gonna be Oh, that'd be an interesting one. Absolutely. Yeah, and I like your idea of throwing an Apple Care in there as well. Like maybe they'll do a platinum bundle or something like that. That's even more premier than the premier edition is. I would like that. Mostly because like they're already switching to Apple Care Plus being a monthly subscription. So
Yep.
like that could work. So I'm really open to that and I would kind of like to see that. I'm surprised they didn't, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe there's just maybe it's too difficult the way that because it's kind of like an insurance policy because they have Apple Care theft and loss. Maybe
Mm.
like they can't do certain things, state regulations. Who knows? Because the
That's a really
Premier
good
plan is
point.
not
Yeah.
it's not available in every It's not available in every country. It's the U.S. I think U.S., Canada, Australia, and maybe Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can find it here.
Yeah, it's only a handful of countries. I don't know the countries off the top of my head, but yeah, the individual and family plans are available everywhere where Apple One is sold, and then Premiere is like much more niche.
Yeah. So it's U.S., U.K., Australia, and Canada. Those are the 4 countries that it's available in. So it's not available in the EU, which is actually kind of interesting. Remember,
The
the
EU
UK
has
is not
all
part
sorts of tech restrictions.
Yes, they do. Those EU people. No, love everyone in the EU. So I think that's super interesting. Like I said, I took advantage of it. You took advantage of it. If anyone out there in the chat, you watching this, let us know what you think about if it's available in your country and whether or not you signed up. Because again, I think it's a lot of value depending on what services that you're already subscribing to.
Absolutely, yeah. And so far, like their services have been really solid. I think their weakest is probably News Plus, but that's not really saying a lot about News Plus. Like the TV shows, like you said, in Apple TV Plus, really solid. If you don't like all of them, you're gonna find some shows you like. Apple Arcade continues to surprise me with just how many good games they actually have on there.
I just
I
found a
started
good
playing
game. I'll tell you in a second.
Outlanders.
Okay.
Outlanders is fantastic. It's a really nice, kind of soothing, kind of village simulator, I guess. Like you
Okay.
kind of start off a village, you build houses, you have to give people jobs so that, some people are going to collect mushrooms, some people are going to grow a farm, and you're just kind of trying to maintain like the happiness of your community with like how well fed they are. And it sounds like it's a lot to think about, but it's done in such a way that's really simple and surprisingly casual. And you don't have to really know like the nitty gritty of every little like facet like you would in say like Civilization or something like that.
Oh wow, that's
So I don't know. I would recommend it.
Huh. The game that I just started playing on Apple Arcade is called Skate City. Have you played that?
No, I haven't.
So it's a game. It's a skateboarding game, obviously, because it's called Skate City. It's not roller skating or anything. Basically, you go through the levels. For some reason, it takes a long time to load. Oh no, it doesn't. So you go through the levels. It's basically like a what's the type of game that you call like Mario, where you're like a single player advancing like through a timeline? What do you?
In platformer traditionally is what they're called, yeah.
Okay, so you really just go through there and you start doing different skateboarding moves in like all these different cities that are skateboarder friendly. So it's a lot of fun, and I just found it. Spent about like an hour and a half playing it. I didn't even realize it. Kind of like TikTok.
That's the best sign.
Yeah, that is the best sign, right? Where you just like, oh wow, where'd the time go? Here's the skate.
Oh, is it Are you comparing it to Super Mario Run?
Yes, I'm sorry. That's what I was comparing it to.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I guess runner would be what it's called because it's not an infinite runner. It's like it's a finite level.
Yes.
So just a runner, I guess. 2D
Yeah.
platformer or runner. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very fun game. So if you haven't played that, I would definitely check it out. Especially you have nothing to lose, right? Because it's free to play. All you have to do is worry about like donating basically storage space on your device.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you could delete it. Anything else you want to add here about Apple One?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. We'll talk more about it as more things happen, I'm sure, over time.
So let's talk about iOS 14.2 release candidate. So there is this horrible bug that it appears like every couple years, where basically anytime that there is the fall, here in the US where you do the time change for it's the vernal equinox, sometimes the clocks get all messed up. And almost every year there is this bug. If you're in the beta, that you get this pop-up saying that you got to update your beta, and there's never an update for it. It's horrible trolling by Apple. They do it to us. But coding is hard. I know. I get it. Anyways, so they released 14.2 on a Friday, which is like completely out of band. It seems like they never do releases on a Friday. They never do beta releases on a Friday, nonetheless. And they released 14.2 as now what they call the release candidate, no longer the gold master, but now the release candidate. And 14.2 has got a lot of great features into it. It's got the integration for Shazam, not only into the not only in the control center, but also kind of throughout the operating system. It also has some new intercom features in HomeKit. It's really, I think, not full feature, but it's really, I think, a great stepping stone from 14.0, where we came just maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, it seems. And it seems like they're really on a quite a clip to at least hit, 5 or 6 different release versions, by next year, right? And they just came from 13, was it 13.5 that they were on? Was it the last known version? Let's check that out.
Something like that. Yeah, there was a lot of versions of iOS 13.
And so I think my question, it seems like it's more intentional now than it was before. Like remember last year when they released 13.0 and they had to release like 13.1 like a week later because it was it was just.
And then 13.2 was shortly after that as well. It was not a long delay.
Yeah. So I would say 14.2, if it's in release candidate, we're probably going to see it, I would say, very soon because they have new hardware coming out.
Mm-hmm.
New hardware.
It'll have to be there before HomePod Mini comes out.
Yeah, not this Friday, next Friday.
Yeah.
So Friday the 13th?
Is that the 13th?
Oh
13th.
Gosh, I hope not. Oh, okay, so Friday the 13th. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. You're not on the beta track, right?
I only do the betas for the 0.0 versions, like during the summer, basically after WWDC, just because I can't not use it. I'm too hyped. And then after that, I go back to regular release.
Okay, so I'm crazy. I do it on every device I can. For some reason, I have no idea. But
you're just a risk taker, dangerous. You just got to do it.
Yes, I live dangerously. Beta, iOS beta. Oh, and Sean Connery died.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's really tragic.
But he was the best James Bond. Are you not a big?
I've seen Dr. No by him, but Last Crusade is like my Sean Connery, love in my heart movie.
Yeah. Are you a big Bond fan?
The moment where they're in the plane. I like Bond.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that's. I'm not super fan or anything like that. But I like them. The Daniel Craig movies have been really fun. Skyfall was good.
Yes.
And even Dr. No I liked.
Okay.
That was the original, the very first one.
Yeah.
In that kind of 60s cheeky kind of way.
You were talking about The Last Crusade. So you're talking about Indiana Jones.
Yeah, one of my favorite kind of Sean Connery moments in the movie is when they're in the plane driving away or flying away, and Sean Connery has the turret gun on the back he's using, and he shoots the back rudder of the plane.
Yeah.
He's like, "Indy, we've been hit." Just that moment gets me every time. I love that moment.
Yeah, that is good stuff. Okay, let's switch gears from iOS 14.2. Let's talk about pre-orders. So today is the 4th of November. I have to keep looking at my watch because I forget what day it is constantly because every day runs together. So we have pre-orders for the Mini Max, right? That's how I like to think about it, right? The iPhone Mini, the HomePod Mini, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max starting on Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, if I'm not mistaken. And you have $99 for the HomePod Mini, $699 for the iPhone 12 Mini, and then $1099 for the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is, I think this is where a lot of people are going to, if they haven't already, they're probably going to return their iPhone 12 or iPhone 12 Pro because they really want one of those two devices. And the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I think, is really going to be the device that outsells, because they're the most different than what we, I think we talked about this before. They're the two different devices compared to what is on the market today, and people, I think it's going to sell well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
and the Mini being a smaller form factor too is also going to be a big draw as well. People like that. There's still a market for that smaller phone, and it's a great balance of smaller phone power.
So let's get your opinion here. Now, I was having a discussion with my friend, and he thinks that the 12 Mini will be the best-selling iPhone at $699. Now, what do you think?
I don't know, because I guess I I feel like 6.1 inch is the perfect iPhone size for right now in
Yes.
terms of being one-handed while still being big. And
Being
I
usable,
guess
right?
for me, yeah, very usable, functional. But I just don't know how much the price point of the Mini is going to outweigh that.
Yes, I agree. So
Because at $100 difference, it's not for most people, especially people paying monthly for their phones. It's not a huge difference.
yes, I agree.
So I really don't know. So I guess I don't really have an opinion. I guess I don't. I just don't know.
So I think if you were talking about the pricing of the phone, if the iPhone 12 stayed at $699 and they brought the iPhone 12 mini in at $599, I would agree with
Hmm.
that statement all day long, right? Because you have a
Yeah.
sub $600 5G iPhone, but not everyone wants the smaller phone, and it's almost
Yeah.
seen like as not inferior because it's not it's technically not inferior, but it's almost seen like, oh, that's a smaller phone and you're not getting as much bang for your buck. You're not getting the big display, and
Hmm.
I don't know, like I just think that if you look at, if they were to bring the phone in, if that was going to be the best selling phone, it would actually kind of erode their margins because of the lower price point.
Yeah, that's a good point. At 699, it's the same price as the iPhone 11 was last year.
Yes.
So that is definitely something to consider. And I don't think the screen size is so small that it would be a turnoff
No.
for anyone. I do wonder because the battery life is actually going to be a little bit less on the Mini. But I'm going
Yes.
to wait for review because you can get the number from Apple, but it really matters in real world usage on battery life. And I'm curious to kind of see how reviews talk about that because that
Yep.
could be a determining factor. Battery life is important to people. Um, yeah, I think you make a really good point. I think you make a really good point. Something I did find out recently because there's
Okay.
the whole there's no technical difference in largely 100% that's true. I did read something recently. There is a small technical difference between the Mini and the regular size iPhone 12, and that's that the MagSafe actually goes at 12 watts as opposed to 15,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
I think is interesting. It's not a deal breaker. It's not going to change anyone's mind. I just thought that was interesting and worth pointing out.
And so you're right. That is interesting. I think if someone was comparing, um, if I was going to buy either the iPhone 12 mini or the iPhone 12, uh, I'm probably buying the mini because of the size, and the fact that
Mm-hmm.
it has a slower charger isn't going to dissuade me from buying it because I'm already going into it knowing that it is a smaller phone, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah,
not going to buy, oh, I'm going to get the larger phone, which I don't want in the first place because it charges 3 watts faster, and those are only like under ideal conditions, right?
yeah.
You have so many things to I guess to consider for that. Um, One thing that where just in using the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro for the past 2 weeks, I've noticed that even though the battery is the same on both devices, that I don't necessarily get the same usage out of both devices. I actually get slightly better battery life on the 12, which I was just kind of like, I was a little bit perplexed why that was, and only through like doing more like research and figuring out that I think it's because of the peak brightness. The 12 Pro has higher
Oh,
peak
interesting.
brightness.
Okay.
Sorry, not peak. Has higher typical brightness by
Yeah.
200 nits. Excuse me. It's like 800 nits versus 600 nits on the iPhone 12, and that impacts the battery life because like when you're looking at it, I have my screen turned up, 80% of the way, 90% of the way most of the time. Especially when you have to go direct sunlight, it's actually that's where and it's always sunny here in Florida for some reason, except for last week. That's where I think that impact of battery life is coming in.
Interesting. Do you? I also would ask if you're taking more pictures on the 12 Pro versus the 12 because having a third camera would make it so that opening the app will have more of a slightly more of a battery draw on it because you're having to power up and run that third camera module. But also when you're using AI algorithms to combine images from all three consistently when you're using the app, that can also drain the battery
Hmm.
more as well. I'm not sure by what factor, but that could also be a
Yeah.
factor too, possibly. But I think the brightness is definitely the bigger one of those two.
Yeah, so I would say that I'm probably taking more photos on the 12 Pro only because it's a phone that I want to take more photos with it because it has
Hmm.
more capabilities built into it. But I would, yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I guess I never thought about that. Um,
The only
yeah,
reason it
I never
comes to
thought about
mind
that.
is the whole battery slowdown thing. When that
Mm.
happened was partly because when you open the camera app on a phone that has a greatly diminished battery, it will cause the phone to shut off because the battery can't send out the energy necessary to
Oh,
run that
wow.
phone, to run that camera. That was one of the reasons why they had to slow down the phone.
Oh, wow. They had to optimize the phone, Holden. Come on.
They had to optimize it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They had to optimize it. Double speak, double speak, double speak.
Double speak, double speak. Yeah. So, back to the 12 Pro, sorry, the 12 Pro Max and the Mini. Again, I think that those phones are going to be hot. They're already
Oh
doing
yeah.
not pre-orders, but like pre-certificate, like where you can go ahead if you are an existing owner, if you want to register for your new one, they allow you to do that already inside of the app. And I think the HomePod Mini, where we've talked about it before, at $99, I think this is going to sell very, very well, like very well.
Hmm.
Um,
Don't be surprised if you have to wait to get one, basically.
yeah, right. Is it launching? Let's take a look here. I wonder if it's launching in all the countries on the Apple.com. Sorry, I'm just bringing up the website here. Oh, what happened there?
Ruh-roh.
Sorry, not AT&T. Yeah, wrong URL.
I mean, you could pre-order it at AT&T, but that doesn't work for us. Better to
Yeah,
pre-order from
nope.
Apple.
Music, I bet. HomePod Mini. View pricing. Do they say what the countries are?
Um, Here, let me see if I can find it. You might need to even just Google that specifically, HomePod Mini country availability.
Yeah. Hold on one
I
second
say
here.
Google, but I don't even use Google. You gotta duck duck go. It doesn't like roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, just duck duck go it. HomePod Mini country availability.
Let's see here. Here we go. So we are saying Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Hong Kong, India, Japan, Spain, the UK, and the US.
Okay.
And the week of November 16th. Oh, so that's not the whatchamacallit. That I thought it was going to be the 13th, but it's the 16th. It's the following week.
Oh yeah, that's
Interesting.
right. I think it's the same with the iPhones as well. That's slightly different. That's weird. Because it's only like a
Yeah,
few
that is
days
different.
difference.
Yeah, that is weird.
Huh.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited
that is
about
quite
that.
interesting.
I'm thinking I'm gonna get two.
Two.
I'm gonna get
Okay.
two of them, and then branch out as I kind of figure out based on usage where I want to put the next ones. But I'm gonna expand for sure.
Yeah.
I'm thinking two. What are you thinking about?
So I have one in my office here. We were talking about it before the show. Is that when I when I say when I say go live, like she turns on trap music and she changes all my lights. I would love to take this one because it's a full size one. And I'd like to put it where my TV is because for some reason my Sonos it no longer automatically switches. Apple TV no longer switches to my Sonos automatically. I have to go and select it every time, and it's annoying.
Hmm.
Sorry, that was having a little tiff there. So I want to bring this into my family room where that is now. And so I would probably order two, one for here and one for my front door. So like when I come home, I could say, "Hey Shlomo, I'm home," and she could run my HomeKit
love,
scene.
I love Hey Shlomo. That's awesome.
So it's not mine. I can't claim it, but I heard Andy Anako say it all the time. Andy Anako is someone who does
Hmm.
Mac Break Weekly, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. Anyways, so at $99, I'd like to order two, but I'm thinking like this would really go on sale. Like I think like I could see Best Buy offering this for $79 at the Thanksgiving Black Friday.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I can also see in the future there being a lot of buy one get one deals on something like this.
Yes, very much so. And the fact that you can now do the you could say, "Hey Shlomo, intercom, I'm at the front door," or whatever you say. And not only does it go to the
Hmm.
other HomePods, it goes to everyone else in your home app or in your family it goes to their devices, their Apple Watch, their HomePods, whatever the case is. And I think that is beyond cool. Because how many times I want to tell my wife something upstairs and she can't hear me? And I'm like, sending her messages and her phone's on silent. So I'd love to do that.
It's a much better move because there's something about like texting someone like, "Come down here, I need you." Like that, it just feels weird.
Yes.
I don't know. It's
very
a
much
small
so.
thing, but I don't know. It feels weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain. First world problems. I can't walk, 300 feet.
Oh God, stairs up my own home. Terrible.
Yeah, I know. So in terms of pre-orders, there's also, I think we should see some new, like leather accessories. Like we haven't seen any of the leather accessories. So like those, the leather accessories that expose like the time and date when you put your iPhone in it, and because they have no leather accessories now. In addition to, we might see the MagSafe charger for your watch and your phone. That was just recently approved in Korea it was just recently approved in Korea, but I don't know.
So it's not an air power situation. It
No,
is
it's
coming.
not. Yeah,
We're assuming.
We're assuming they've retracted things at the last minute before, but we think it's coming. I guess other than that, I mean, the other big news, you have pre-order starting on Friday, and then just like a number of days later, you have an Apple event where they're supposedly, or not supposedly, but they're going to talk about new Apple Silicon based Macs, which everyone is like losing their shit over because that was a bad word. Excuse me. Everyone's losing their mind. I'm offended. I have to make sure I block that out. Because of what the gains that they're seeing on the iPad, the iPad Pro, the iPad Air, and what I think is going to be likely on that. How excited are you for ARM-based Macs? I'm sorry, Apple Silicon-based Macs.
I'm really excited. I know I'm not gonna get one because I still have a 2017 15-inch MacBook Pro, and that's gonna last me even a few years from now. So I'm fine not getting one, but it's gonna be hard because I think there's some really cool things about this, even like the small little things. I'm very excited about this. I'm kind of hoping that Macs get the rounded corners that iPad Air and Apple Watch and iPhone have. I think it'd be a really cool way to distinguish. I think it'd be cool if they brought back the glowing Apple logo with them. I think that would be really cool on the back of the MacBooks. So like, I'm kind of hoping that we see like kind of some little things like that make it stand out. I'm kind of curious what that's going to look like, because I kind of feel like if they're doing this, they have to do a design change along with it. When they switched to Intel, the MacBook had a different design to it. So I feel like that could happen. I'd like to see that. But ultimately, I can't wait to see the performance of these things. Like, finally see what the performance looks like in comparison to the equivalent Intel model from last year. I think it's going to be crazy. I think people are going to be really impressed with the performance they get. Because if you compare the performance in iPhones to Android phones, the equivalency, the multi-threading on iPhones is so much better than it is on Android phones. I'm as a desktop class processor, I think Apple can do a lot. So it's going to be really exciting just to see that.
So you bring up a couple good points here, is that, so one, the glowing Apple logo. If you remember a few years ago, I think it was 2016 when they took out the startup chime, the startup chime for your computer. But now in the beta, it's in there. Because I have the beta installed on an external SSD, and now my Mac, even when the external SSD is not installed, it makes the startup chime, which is really weird. So I think it would be really cool if not only they brought back the glowing Mac logo, is if that startup chime sound was inside, or they had it for the Apple Silicon-based Macs.
I never just really got rid of it. The only argument I heard for why I was going to get rid of is, oh, I'll be in a meeting, and then I'll open up my computer and the chime will go on, and it's so distracting. I'm like, no, it's not distracting. It's just a startup sound. Everyone knows that you're just turning your computer to work at the meeting. It's fine. Like, I've never understood why people wanted it to be gone to begin with. I just don't get it. I want it back. It's classic. It's iconic.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's like it's such a Mac sound where you're like, if you hear it, like two people like look at each other like, oh wow, you have a Mac. Like it's something to bond over.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
it's so on to your second point, and I think we'll touch on Steve's question or Steve's comment here in the background. Wow, is that really dark? There's like no
It is,
background in
yeah.
there. Um, so the performance, when they sent out the dev kits earlier this year, there was a lot of talk on like what the performance would be because it was based on I think an A12Z processor, which is the same thing that's in the 2020 MacBook 2020 iPad Pro, and the performance was really good. I can't wait to see they do like either Final Cut or Logic in these computers because as
Yeah.
much the first party apps are going to have probably they're going to be well supported. It's going to be sometime, quite possibly for like maybe second and third tier third party apps to find their way onto this new Apple Silicon. Apple's going to optimize the bejesus out of them, right? Like I can't wait to see what Final Cut is, and I think that's really the what will propel me to get one of these computers for more than just review. To say I'm going to keep this because it makes my workflow so much easier. That is what I would look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note of processors, and I actually would like to talk about Steve IT guy's thing here of unique colors, um, is having different tiers of processors. Like
Yeah.
the rumor is we're going to see a 13-inch MacBook and a 13-inch MacBook Pro, or like Air and Pro, but like consumer and
Yep.
professional level computer is the distinction. And are they really going to put an A14 equivalent chip in both of them? That's the same exact one, or are we
Probably.
going to see like an i5 versus i9 or i5 versus i7 kind of distinction between these two processors? Like, what's that going to look like? They could use the same for both, I guess. I mean, iPhone 12 and 12 Pro both use A14. There's some slight
Yep.
differences in the chips to accommodate for cameras, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see that kind of stuff too.
So they could do an approach where you see like it's the A14, it's like the A12, the A12X, and the A12Z, like three different tiers of processors, and on those
Hmm.
upper tiers you see more cores for GPUs, right, allowing
Yeah.
for better processing of whatever they're doing.
Yeah, they
Uh,
could even do it that way, like have an 18 core, an 8 core, and like a 12 core or something like that. Who know? I mean, we really don't know. It's gonna be exciting,
yeah.
and I feel like they're gonna have to do different tiers anyway because eventually there's gonna be a Mac Pro, a workstation equivalent, and that's not gonna run the same chip as a 13-inch MacBook Air.
No, you're totally right. Sorry, I just gasped there. There was like a spider that was like this big walking across my desk. I'm like, sorry. Uh,
No worries.
that totally caught me off guard. Yeah, I think they're gonna have to differentiate the different processors and the experience of having these different Macs because they're not going to sell one SKU that doesn't really make sense for them given the effort.
Hmm.
Um, I am really interested to see what they do in terms of GPUs, like external GPUs and just processing on that.
Oh
From
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Because I have a GPU sitting behind my Mac here, which I use for almost everything because everything uses the GPU nowadays, and I would love to see how that works with with these new Macs. Yeah, maybe it's gonna be like a
Yeah.
MacBook, like is that the one they got rid of, the 12-inch MacBook,
Yeah.
or the iBook? Maybe they'll call it the iBook.
Oh, I would love to go back to that. iBook and bring back PowerBook. PowerBook is such a better name than MacBook Pro.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I still think MacBook is
Wow.
kind of a weird name, but it is what
Huh.
it is.
So that's actually a good point. Would they possibly delineate between two different products, Intel-based Macs and Apple Silicon Macs, by saying MacBook, MacBook Pro, or the
Hmm.
PowerBook? Like that would be
Yeah,
interesting.
because that's how they distinguished it before, with it going from PowerPC to Intel. I kind of I as much as I think that would be really cool, because I like the name PowerBook more. I'm gonna err on the side of they're gonna keep the name MacBook Pro, just because I feel
Yeah.
like they just want to be able to tell users, "Hey, here's a new powerful MacBook Pro." We'll love hearing about the Apple Silicon stuff, but I feel like
Yep.
for kind of the normal, average consumer out there who's not as ingrained in the tech industry and all of its intricacies, they just need to know it's a better MacBook Pro. It's faster. The reason it's faster is the Apple Silicon, but to the consumer, it's just a faster MacBook Pro.
Yeah, like it seems like it's a really strange time of year to launch new consumer-focused laptops.
Yeah.
Like, like
You can
even though
take it
it's
all
holiday,
around your house.
well, not just because of the pandemic, but like usually like the consumer-based laptops, they start they come out in like June, July because they ramp up into school season or into school buying season or back to school. I
Oh,
think they
yeah.
call it.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then like professional grade laptops or professional grade computers are more in the spring. At least that's what I think I remember. I don't know. I guess we'll find out everything in 5 days from now.
Yeah. Not far.
Yeah, no, not far at all. Other than the ARM-based Macs, we have the possibility of AirTags, which we've talked about before. AirTags are super interesting, and hopefully these new studio headphones, which these AirPod Studio Pros or whatever they're calling them, or whatever their names are, something that is over the ear, has great noise cancellation and changeable ear cups, changeable headband, and some can automatically understand whether you're in left-right orientation and change based on that. That sounds super interesting. Also, from the fact that would go really well with your iPod, not your iPod. Oh my God, your iPod. Your a way to like switch music from or switch content from your Apple TV to your iPhone to your iPad. I think that's something where it goes really well with I think a new Apple TV as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been using my AirPod Pros on Apple TV, and that's just been an awesome experience. So I can imagine a really robust set of over-ear headphones from Apple would be even better.
Can you have two different two sets of AirPods connected to one Apple TV at the same time? I think you
I'm
can.
pretty sure you can do the share audio. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That
I don't know 100%, but I'm really kind of thinking back. I'm like, yeah, I think the share audio button's underneath
yeah. So
the AirPod
you
option.
you'll realize that when you have kids, you have to be quiet like all the time, like after 8 o'clock, because they always go to sleep, and you don't want to wake them up because that's the only time that you have in the world. But anyways, the sharing, music via AirPods is like amazing, and it's a godsend if you have kids. I think it would do well if you had these studio AirPods. I think it would do well for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What else would you like to see there? Anything else that you would like? Oh wow, I would get that. I would have to get that. Or
I'm curious. I kind of feel like at this point, HomePod Mini is like the last thing I'm going to buy this year because I'm already buying PS5. So like, I'm not so interested in like things I buy for myself. But I am interested in if they do in fact announce new Apple TV at the next event, and if that rumored Apple Arcade Plus service they announce alongside it, because I feel like that would be just incredibly bad timing to announce a new game service on the same day the Xbox Series X comes out, 2 days before PlayStation 5 comes out. Like, you are going to be lost in all of that hype around the next gen consoles. If they're doing this, they're better off releasing it next year if they're doing that. So I'm interested to see if they do that or not. And also, I don't want them to release an Apple TV because I just bought my first Apple TV 4K. I'd be really bummed if they released one with like an A14 inside of it, because I would have gotten that one in a heartbeat.
yeah. So what if they didn't release the Apple Arcade Plus and just release the controller? I don't think
That
would
would
get
be
lost.
interesting. That would be interesting because right now I'm using an Xbox. I've actually been playing a lot more Apple Arcade lately, and I've been using my Xbox controller for it. But I'd much rather have something that's going to sync as easily as my AirPods Pro do between all my devices. I think that would be
Yeah.
a game changer for Apple Arcade and going between different devices. So I really hope that they do that. I also think that What I hope is that Apple doesn't go too bananas with their controller though.
Yeah.
I really like I feel like if they did something ridiculous like it doesn't have joysticks, you just like rub your fingers around these like circles on there and those are your joysticks. They'll touch them. Like if they did something like that, I'd be like, that's a terrible idea. You don't understand gamers if that was your plan. You need
No.
tangibility for a controller. So I hope they kind of just do a really kind of really comfortable, sleek looking controller with buttons and nothing fancy about it. Maybe gyro stuff, but that's not fancy anymore. That's normal for controllers.
Yeah.
And then just have the main thing be ease of syncing across the devices. That would be awesome. I'd be all for that.
I would be all for that too. I don't know if you saw. I have the PS5 controllers. For the life of me, I can't get them to sync with my iPad, my iPhone. They don't work at all, which is I'm not devastated, but I was really upset when I got them. I'm like, oh come on, I can't wait to use this for a game. I'm like, oh my god, they don't even freaking pair.
Sony's
But
so weird about that controller. It doesn't pair to a PS4, but it does pair to a PS3. It does pair to a Switch, but not a PS4, not iOS
oh,
devices.
it'll pair to a Switch. I didn't even think about that.
Someone got it working on a Switch. I don't know to what extent, but it did connect to the Switch.
Oh wow, I'm just looking at it on the floor. It's in the box. It's just on the floor in my room. Yeah, I was really mad that it wouldn't pair. I guess, but to that point, those I would like to see like Apple bring those level of controls, right? Like the button configurations, the feedback, haptic feedback, um, to like their games. Like that would be just great for
Yeah.
experience.
Absolutely the haptic feedback too. Everything I have seen about the DualSense on PlayStation 5 is that the
Yep.
haptic feedback is game changing and it
Yes.
really does add a profoundly big difference to your gaming experience. And Apple does really well with their haptics with the Taptic engine in all of their products.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
do. They
I,
do
I
killer job.
remember when I used to sell Macs and I would go to consumers and be like, hey, this button you're clicking is not actually a button. And I'd be like, look, turn the computer off. And they turn the computer off and they go to push the trackpad and they're like, it's completely solid. And I'm like, it's always been solid. You just feel like it's pushing against, you're clicking something because it's actually vibrating against you. And they're like, their minds were blown because it works so convincingly.
Yeah,
You never think that it's not really a button on the trackpad, but it's not a button. It is a solid piece of glass and that's it. And it vibrates against you. So I think
it's
that they
mind
could do
bending.
awesome stuff with haptics and a
You're
controller.
totally right. They could. I mean, it's like mind bending, like you're saying. Like anytime that you use the trackpad, uh, and you're like, oh wait, this is dead. Like when you use the Touch ID button on the
Yeah,
iPhone
exactly.
7, iPhone 8, and you're like, wait, why isn't this working? And then you're like, you have this moment of clarity. You're like, oh my god, it's not real.
Yeah.
Like it's not real, but it's real, but it's actually quite great. And to your point, having those, you know, that type of haptic experience, which could be why they killed 3D Touch, right? To further
Mhm.
advance haptic touch
Yeah.
as a, wow, that's a very good point. I never even thought about that.
And I think would be a
Wow.
if they could do that, that would be really big for them because Microsoft's not doing that for Series X. And it sounds like this is could be a generation defining feature. So if they can come out with a new service and say, "Oh, and we do this thing that even Microsoft doesn't do that people like even the great reviewers say adds this new dimension to game," that could be a big benefit for them. Maybe not the killer feature necessarily, but a reason to keep playing your games on Apple Arcade Plus or even just a normal Apple Arcade.
Does the Xbox have the adaptive triggers that the DualSense?
It has impulse triggers, which basically just means it vibrates against you. But on a
Okay.
PlayStation 5, the adaptive, it literally will have different resistance. So it might be
Yep.
really hard to pull that trigger down. Microsoft
Yep.
doesn't have that in theirs. It just
Okay.
vibrates.
Wow. Yeah. It's a good time to be a gamer.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I'm
Absolutely.
so unbelievably excited for PS5.
I'm glad
I
that you were able
cannot
to get
wait.
one. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, I'm happy I could get one too. I'm happy you could get three.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, very excited about that. So as we go back to the event, we have ARM-based Macs, so ARM-based Macs, some style of those studio headphones, AirTags, and maybe this Apple TV controller, smart controller. Other than
Mhm.
that, I think that kind of rounds out the amount, the mind share, the percentage of mind share they could actually get during a 60-minute session. And it's kind of weird to think that on the 4th of November, they've probably already recorded this, or they are in the very final touches of recording it. And it's being edited. So, people know what is going to be in there. Probably by Friday, we'll start getting more rumors on what they're going to talk about, because they start opening up, the circle of trust to more people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about Tuesday. Anything else I guess you want to talk about today, Holden?
I don't know. For me, that about covers it. We'll be back next week to definitely talk about the official information. No speculation required.
That's actually a good title. No speculation required. I'll keep that in mind. Holden, can you tell everyone where they can go ahead and find you at?
I am on Twitter at Holden DePardo. Right now, if you want to avoid politics, don't go there. But in the future, it'll be less politically oriented. I also do a video game podcast called Respawn Aim Fire. We do that every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on Twitch. And then it airs on podcast 2 p.m. or Tuesday at 9 a.m. So I do that as well.
Awesome. Holden, thank you very much for joining me. Everyone, thank you for tuning in live, and we will talk to you next week.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.